The Panhandle-Plains Historical Museum remains closed since the fire marshal report cited safety violations. WT President Walter Wendler cited it as a danger to the public.
PPHM has been a part of the community, helping people learn about the past since the 1930s, and is the largest history museum in Texas with a collection over 2 million artifacts. KMR Local 4's Jack Kessler has been doing some digging into that complicated situation. He has an in-depth look at what happens next as WT and the Panhandle-Plains Historical Society figure out what's next.
PPHM has had many different renovations in its 90-plus years. A basement was added in 1936. A four-story addition in 1967 doubled the museum's size. The former WTSU library was built in the 1950s and donated to the museum in 1973. A 75,000 square foot structure was added in 1986. Some of these renovations are causing the most issues.
You're going to have to probably demolish the library portion of it. Pioneer Hall, from what Dr. Wendler and the architects have told us, is a very solid building. It obviously needs maintenance work. The Harrington wing there where the oil derrick is the newest, but it poses a lot of safety issues in there.
Pioneer Hall will never go away. I mean, not on my watch. And there are additions. Part of the additions to the museum that are there now could be salvaged. Some of what makes up the museum right now cannot be salvaged. What we would call the old library outlived its useful life. Its structure we even had the architects look at gutting the whole inside of the old library and putting a new interior in it made for the storage of important artifacts. In other words, designing it just for that, and it just didn't work.
Representative John Smithy is working to keep the museum alive and local. He says we're looking at $20 to $40 million as a practical matter to reopen the museum.
Have to go to the legislature a year from now and ask for somewhere between 20 and 40 million, maybe some combination of public and private money to get the collection out of there. And it needs to be someplace that's very safe, that's secure. And that's going to be very expensive.
Representative Smithy adds the appropriation process begins in the summer.
We need a plan in place that we can take to Austin to basically say, here's what we need and here's why we need it and here's why it's justified. We need to basically plead our case. And we have to have that done and ready to go sometime by this summer as we go through the appropriations process, because if you get started too late, the odds of success are much lower. You're going to be less likely to get what you need.
Mark White, trustee with the Panhandle-Plains Historical Society Board, says right now the artifacts are being stored safely.
They have been moved to parts of the building that are safe. So I don't have any worry about the artifacts right now. We are putting together a plan for finding a place to move them and a timeline for doing that. But the plan will be to find a storage facility that is appropriate, and then it'll be a very big project, as you can imagine, to move the artifacts to a safe place like that.
In early January, Canyon City Commissioners had a meeting to discuss PPHM. Mayor Gary Henders says they want to be a part of the solution.
Some of the revenue streams that we possibly have are through the hotel motel tax. The possibility of going in could actually put a small tax. It requires voters to do it, but paid for through hotel motel tax, not property taxes. And then a big one that we've helped with in the past has been through our EDC as well.
Dr. Wendler adds he wants the museum to stay in the city of Canyon.
It's perfect right here on the campus. What we need, though, are two streams of income. We need a stream of income that would allow us to provide the capital expenditures to make the building safe, to respond to the public health, safety, and welfare in the Panhandle-Plains Historical Museum. That's number one. Number two, I need a durable stream of income of $100,000 a month that would be there for us to properly manage the building.
Representative Smithy says if you are going to keep it in Canyon, he thinks the museum either has to be affiliated with WT or the Texas Historical Commission. Representative Smithy introduced Texas House Bill 5554 during the 89th legislature relating to the operation and management of the Panhandle-Plains Historical Museum by the Texas Historical Commission.
That bill that was filed was done at the request of both the Texas A&M system and the Texas Historical Commission. They had had some communication that it might be better if the Historical Commission were to run the museum, run and operate the museum. And the Historical Commission, I think, does have some interest in doing that. It would be a very complicated arrangement, and the two sides could never really get to the point where they felt like it was okay or we were ready to go forward with that legislation. I don't think that concept is necessarily dead yet.
In Canyon, Jack Kessler, KAMR Local 4 News.
On February 19th, there will be a public discussion that will answer the community's questions by members of the Panhandle-Plains Historical Society.
WTAMU President Walter Wendler and other stakeholders are scheduled to be there. The event will be at the Embassy Suites at 5 p.m. To see more coverage on PPHM along with links to the virtual tour of the museum and to see WT's timeline of actions related to PPHM, head on over to our website, myhighplains.com.